Oh, hey, y'all. Y'all. Okay, so I ain't been keeping up with Grownish like I said I was. I just noticed it's episode 17, I think, from season 6. So, yeah, there were a few reviews that I did record that I never uploaded and kind of deleted because I felt like there was no point in uploading them, honestly, because I just felt like with this being the final season of Grownish, those episodes weren't really worth talking about. But tonight's episode, yesterday night's episode, because I'm late recording this. Y'all, I just found out that it was only 2 episodes left, and I think that was one of the last 2. But I'm here to give my thoughts on that episode. You know, I as an OG Grownish fan, I've been watching Grownish since season 2. I found out about it shortly after season 1 was over. And I've been reviewing Grownish ever since. By the way, I have a Grownish playlist if you are interested in rewatching Grownish from the beginning, or you have never watched Grownish from the beginning and you caught it like the later seasons. Feel free to go through my playlist. It will be linked at the end of this video. But I just feel like, tonight's episode was like one of those reminders of why I liked Grownish in the first place. I just want to say shout out to Team Zuka. I've been seeing y'all in them Grownish comments on Instagram. Team Zuka up. Even though they ain't even together, Team Zuka is up. Okay, so as we found out since the garage, when Zoe had her fashion show, Aaron has been in love distress because he loves Zoe, but he doesn't want to do long distance again. And Zoe, had no plans in coming back to New York. So we didn't see it, but Junior told Aaron that Zoe had considered moving back to LA and, to relaunch Anti-Muse. She's been on this whole kick about relaunching Anti-Muse, all right? Which I thought the easy thing, as a writer, slam dunk is right there. Have her relaunch Anti-Muse in LA, because why? We want Aaron and Zoe together. They pretty much been giving us Aaron and Zoe teasing since season 1. But here it is, season 6. They dated. They were together. In the words of Junior this episode, they were very on again, off again. And maybe their relationship was just meant for just college. And they tried it. It didn't work out. And we're moving forward. A couple episodes back, a lot of people talked about Zoe over the years and how Zoe was so self-centered. They might have thrown the word narcissist around, that she's so ditzy. Like, they just have said all kinds of things about Zoe on Twitter, But for once, Zoe said that she did some, soul searching. She did some looking on the inside to see maybe I'm the problem. So Zoe worked on herself a little bit. So it was just so surprising and somewhat fulfilling to see Zoe finally choose herself and finally let Aaron be happy with Edith and, move forward. Because I just knew right then that they was just going to pounce on each other, but that ain't what happened. So, of course, things didn't work out with Edith with Aaron. So, Aaron has been wrecking his thoughts, going back and forth on how he can get Zoe back. So finally in this episode, Doug tells Aaron that he's talked to Anna a few times and that Anna said that Aaron has been constantly, the topic of conversation that they've had. And so Aaron thought, okay, well, here's my chance. Under the guise that Zoe was coming back to LA. So Aaron did this grand gesture. Right? He did this grand gesture in trying to woo Zoe in. Even in the beginning of the episode, he was talking to Zoe, just trying to temperature check, But Zoe was kind of keeping it cash. Then, of course, going back to the classroom where they first met, the first year, Aaron's second year. He sits in the classroom and talks about how he cares for Zoe. He loves Zoe. He want to be with her. He didn't want to do long distance thing, but he's willing to go wherever she is because he does not want a life without her. And all of us were sitting there just mouths watering. Yes, Aaron. Yes, the moment we've been waiting for. We finally gonna get it. And what the producers say? Not on my watch. Woo! Them writers had a field. They done reeled us in. They done did all kind of things. And what we get? Nathaniel. We got nothing. Zoe said no. And I saw some people talk about it on Twitter last night, but I was like, I ain't finna go and look. And then I was just like, okay, whatever. So then I just hopped on Twitter a couple minutes ago, and then I was like, let me watch this episode of Grownish. Oh my gosh. I just was not expecting her to say no. I just knew that she would have said yes. But you know what? I commend the writers for not giving us what we want. Because that's real. That's so real. Because when you are in college and then you graduate and then you kind of in that funny in-between space, which I wish they would give us a show, somebody on that weird in-between space from after college and 30, because there's a lot that transpires in that time frame. But back to the subject at hand. After college, you getting out there on your own, you getting a job, you're trying to work, you're trying to figure out how to gain your wings, you're trying to figure out how life is going to go. And then you have these relationships that you might have been dealing with for years. And then you have passions, they have passions, y'all both have passions. They're going like this and not like this. That's real. And going on top of me as a person who watched Different World, which, if you've been watching my reviews for years, I've always brought up Different World when talking about Grownish, because Grownish has paid homage to Different World in so many ways. The Dwayne and Whitley, it was bound for them to end up together. But in this case, even though we have one more episode, things could change. But speaking as for right now, in this case, this generation's Dwayne and Whitley may not be together. And that's just the way the world works. She don't want to move back to LA. She wants to stay in New York. She wants to be single for a little while, figure herself out, and chase her dream. And that's fair. That's fair. And I just thought, wow, this would have been perfect time for y'all to have Luca pop up somewhere up in here. I mean, not in the way the story was written, but if it had been written to go in another direction, just so happened Luca popped up at the fashion show or something like that, it would have been great time. It would have been a moment. But oh well. But yeah, that's real. The conversation he had with Doug and with Doug and with Junior about, Junior saying, this may have been for a time. Doug saying, well, no, I'm hearing about her all the time. If that's what your heart's desire is, you need to go and chase after her. And he did. And, You know, it's fair if Zoe has moved on. They haven't been together for a few months. You know what I'm saying? She may just have moved forward. And that's okay. And sometimes I feel like people need to accept that it's okay to move on. It's okay if something didn't work out. It's not a waste of time. You tried it. Life goes on. But sometimes we get so stuck on because we invested this much time or because I feel like this. In life, you're going to have plenty of feelings. But everything is just not going to be the way you want them to be all the time. And so we have to grow to accept some things. Now, the way they framed this season is making it sound like Junior is graduating. I don't know how. I do know that Junior had a lot of credits, you know, in the beginning, like from Blackish, where he had did all these programs in high school and he had these college credits. So I knew that he was going to school for at least 2 years, but a lot of people who may not have watched Blackish and were just watching Grownish may not have known that. So I'm thinking when Junior says it's over before he goes into the real world, Junior is graduating. So, Junior was trying to, you know, he had been working at Stevens and Lido prior to the show or prior to going to Cal U. And so he had all this experience in marketing and advertising. And so, of course, it was natural that he may have gone the management route or in the marketing route, somewhere, you know, in that area. So I was happy to see that Junior was wanting to start his own because, you know, it became one point in time on Blackish that Dre left Stevens and Lido, and I think he had started his own advertising company, or he started working for himself or working as an independent contractor. And so, you know, I felt like that was a great way for Junior to try to, like, I guess, follow in his father's footsteps a little bit and try to start his own business and work for himself, be his own boss, which starting straight out of college is a good investment because by the time 5 years roll around, you will have, you know, been through those bumps, you would have been through those growing pains, and then by the 5th year, you should be solid. Well, because Junior had went through that whole fiasco with his frat brother being a fraud, Junior's, you know, clients start like dropping left and right, whatever. And so this episode, we see him lose Zeke as a client. I was glad to see that they referenced Zeke because it's just like Zeke left. Zeke had this whole story about him being online with him, that being his frat brother, and being best friends, and then boom, Zeke transferred to another school. We don't ever even hear or reference Zeke again. But I was glad to hear that. So Zeke dropped him as a client and joined Rich Paul. So of course, like having Rich Paul on the show was like a major move because that's Rich Paul. That's, you know, LeBron's manager. Like he handles LeBron's affairs and everything like that. And they're in business together. So Junior was trying to merge his business with Rich Paul's business since, you know, Zeke had went there. But Junior had it all wrong. And the crazy thing is, everything that Doug and Aaron said to Junior when I saw Junior having his conversation with Rich Paul and then he walked away, I was just like, oh, he just fumbled majorly. And this generation, I hate to say it, but a lot of steps be skipped sometimes. And it's nothing wrong with being your own boss, but sometimes you just got to earn your stripes unless nepotism is at play. Them the only ways you can skip sometimes, you know. Most of the time. But anyway, so yeah. So I was like, oh, he fumbled. Boy, you better go and answer that. You better go and answer that phone for Rich Paul. What are you doing? That's Rich Paul. You're going to be around him all the time. You can learn his ways. You can learn everything. Then if you decide you want to quit, you got access. You would have access to all that stuff. You would have time to, you know, get out everything you need to know to set yourself up for when you want to start your own business. Oh, excuse me. You have everything you wanted to do to start your own business, but you skipped all these steps. So then, after he had that real life talk with Doug and Aaron, he finally He finally was like, did I just make the biggest mistake? Yes, you did. Go and be Rich Paul assistant, because one day Rich Paul may have an opening. Rich Paul may have an opening, and then you can show him everything you've learned, and move up, and then boom, you right on his wing, his right hand man. I mean, you gotta play the game. Sometimes in life you gotta play the game to get where you need to be. I'm not saying that you gotta be where you need to be forever, but sometimes you just gotta earn your stripes. That's just the way it's set up. I don't make the rules. Junior ain't make the rules. Rich Paul ain't make the rules. It's just the way life happens. Sometimes there is that one rare occasion where, somebody can just hit a home run and boom, they ain't got to do nothing. But most of the times, you got to earn them stripes. Them stripes got to be earned. But yeah, so I was happy to see that, even after he messed up, Rich Paul was able to give him a second chance because he was able to find that exclusive shoe that he was looking for. I mean, because by the time he showed up with that exclusive shoe, it would have been real hard for Rich Paul to say no. If the writers want to shock us and give us another no, I wouldn't have been mad at it, because he fumbled the first attempt. He fumbled right when you had it, man, you fumbled. But because, you were persistent, another thing that's good in getting jobs, persistency. If you want something, you're going to go after it. Period. Even if you make a mistake sometime, you go after it. But yeah, I was pretty pleased with this episode of Grownish. I don't have no complaints. Just like last week's episode where the bar none manager the bar none owner was gonna sell bar none to some other people, and Doug went right to those people and asked for his job because he built that bar. Sometimes you gotta be persistent. Sometimes you go after it. And so now he got what he want. He got his stake. He got a job. He got benefits, and he got a little bit of equity in that bar. So he getting to the bread. He said he worked hard for this. It may not have worked out for him, when he lost his job at that corporation, but he was willing to go to the bar and even serve drinks and work as a barkeep before the bar owner gave him a chance to make the dugout. And then the dugout ended up being that man's most profitable part of his bar. And now look at the bam. Got menu, he creating drinks. He done created a whole little lavish lounge. He got a situation going. Aaron, same thing. Aaron, wasn't sure if he wanted to stay at Cal U in the beginning because he felt like there was some shystiness going on, because he was at a PWI and his morals and values didn't match what the interests of the institution was doing. But then he decided, if I have this attitude, I'm going to have this attitude about everything in this world, because there's so many things in this world that these institutions have interest in putting money in. But they may be messed up, but they also are doing all these other good things, these other programs. So he had to pick and choose his battles. He had to earn his stripes, even if he didn't want to hang around the other teachers because he felt like they were all L's. He had to take his stripes and get out there. You know what I'm saying? So, and even Zoe, shoot, which in the beginning of the season and in some of season 5, I felt the way because Zoe wasn't there. But that's real life. Like, you graduate and then you go off and live somewhere else, and then, your loved ones are, still trying to get to where they need to be. And so you can come in and come home and check in on them and hang out every now and then, but eventually that time's going to be up, and you got to get back to business. And that's what she was doing. So I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I'm upset that Grownish is ending. But, some good things just come to an end. Oh, one last thing before I go. I forgot to address the whole Kiela thing. So apparently Annika was not present in this episode. And we've been dealing with Kiela and her whole situation with Junior for the last couple of episodes. Will they? Won't they? Will they? Won't they? You know, and I thought it was interesting. But at the same time, the way she got into her Portugal program and the way she trying to set herself up for grad school, and then Junior graduating and trying to get on with Rich Paul, their whole thing was going, it just kept going like this. They would meet and then it would fall off. They would meet and then they would fall off. So it's just like, oh well, y'all tried it. Sometimes you just can be attracted to a person, it just don't work out, and then you just gotta go home. But yeah, y'all. So that's all I have for Grownish season 6, the final season, episode 17, and we'll see how next week go. I'll have to see if I can find me a trailer. I ain't seen no trailer for the series finale, but yeah, y'all. I will probably come back and review the last episode, depending on if it's good or not, or if I like it or not. And then I'll probably come back with like the whole series wrap up of what I thought about Grownish as a show. And we can just go down memory lane. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more. This is